So in this video, we are going to be discussing about artificial intelligence. So I'm going to be covering the basics of everything that you need to know about artificial intelligence. So if you are interested in that, so continue to watch this video. So let's get started. All right. So let's start by knowing what is the meaning of artificial intelligence. So we know the meaning of artificial, which means it is a man-made thing. But we need to understand the meaning of intelligence first. So let's see. So on the PPT I have the explanation, so yeah, let's get started. So first of all, when it comes to intelligence, it's all about learning thing. So learning from experience, the past mistakes that you have did. So as a human, you always keep on learning from your mistakes. So yeah, that's what one thing that represent intelligence. And the next thing is recognizing the patterns. Just recognizing patterns means something like you may see a white color dog, brown color, and black color, but you still recognize it as a dog, right? So that's how recognizing patterns works. And making decision with incomplete data. For example, let's say the cloud is dark and it's windy outside, and you suddenly make a decision that it might rain, right? So that's what making decision from incomplete data actually means. The next thing is adapting to the new situations. Let's say something like, now currently in India, we are most of them are driving petrol vehicles now, but still there are people who are being updated to the electric vehicles. So in the future, you may also end up going to the electrical vehicle side, right? So that's what adapting to the new situation actually means. So yeah, these are the qualities of intelligence, and we are going to be creating this artificially. So as a human, we all have in these things, these four things that we have mentioned. So on the right side, you can see a small analogy where let's say there is a child, and his mother will tell him that not to touch a hot stove, because if he touch it, he just get a ban, right? So but even though he touch it, he will after getting the ban, he will learn that he should not touch it afterwards in the future. So that's how intelligence works. So you just learn from your mistakes and recognize patterns and making decisions from incomplete data and then adapting to the new situations. So this is what intelligence actually means. Let's move on to the next thing. So now let's see the difference between the artificial intelligence and the human brain. So yeah, I haven't covered many things here, but I covered the basics things that you need to know. So first of all, let's see the human brain. So our human brain is made up of 86 billion neurons running in parallel, and uses analog signals. But in the side of artificial intelligence, there are billions of parameters, which are just which are just uh, created and used by matrix calculations. So yeah, that's how artificial intelligence works. And the next thing is we learn from few examples. So we don't need billions of data to make a decision or to learn a new thing. But artificial intelligence on the other side needs millions of examples to learn a single thing. So yeah, it also needs a lots of power resources. So you can see over here, we just use 20 watts of power. We are incredibly energy efficient, but when it comes to artificial intelligence, it uses megawatts of power. We are using literally tons of water for cooling the system servers that are used by the artificial intelligence. So yeah, we are energy efficient, but it is not, and it actually requires a lots of data to train from it, to train itself. So yeah, that's the difference between the artificial intelligence brain and the human brain. So yeah, I haven't covered the full thing yet, but just the basic that you must need to know. And then next, we have a few types of few stages of artificial intelligence. So first is rule based AI, which we just go with if else logic. So we just use if else, like if the temperature is above 40 degrees Celsius, turn on the AC, like that. That's the rule based AI. And the next thing is, and the in rule based AI, it can't learn stuffs. So you can just set up the systems and you'll just keep on working. So it is not even an AI. So it doesn't learn, it just purely based on logics, right? So the next thing is machine learning, which will learn from data and find patterns, and it will keep on improving over time. So it will start by learning from patterns and find the patterns, and then learns from the mistakes, and then keep on improving it, basically. Like let's say let's take a simple example like Gmail. In Gmail we have a spam folder, right? So there we also get official emails sent to the spam folder. Let's say your company just getting started, and they just brought a domain, and they just got their email address set up, and it will eventually fall into the spam folder for no reason, because they need to warm up the email. That's a main basic thing to do. But here's the thing, still Gmail puts that into the mail spam folder. But if more and more people keep on reporting it as not spam, it will just automatically get into the primary or inbox section of the Gmail. So that how machine learning works. So that's one of the place where machine learning is implemented, right? So the next layer is deep learning, where we have or LLMs, which is ChatGPT and stuffs, and we also have the image recognitions. So here's where in this section we will create neural networks. Neurons are just how brains work. So we are going to be creating that artificially using mathematics. In this deep learning, we have multiple layers, and we can also automate things. So yeah. So now let's see about how the traditions of neural networks, so how it all started and how it's going now. In past we used to have neural networks, but the problem with the previous neural network is we have used a algorithm called RNNs. So I'm not going to be going deep about how it actually works, but I will cover the I will just tell it briefly. In RNNs we have sequential bottleneck, which means we are going to be seeing each and every single word. This actually works, but when it comes to a long passage and keeping up the context, it actually lacks memory. So that it couldn't keep on with the long sequence of conversations. And then to solve this RNNs problem, we have long short-term memory, which means we have a short-term big we have very long context, it can handle very long text. That's it. It's just an improved better memory versions of the RNNs. And then this is the problem, and this problem was actually solved by a Google research paper, where they discussed about a new concept called transformers, in which they published an article called "Attention is all you need," and it was published by Google in 2017. And in this, they shared, they shared a concept called transformers, which all the LLMs in this are using currently. So here's the thing. Before 2020, even before 2017, we have GPUs, which are designed for running parallel tasks, which are designed to run parallel tasks. But unfortunately, we didn't have in RNNs and LSTMs. We can't run parallel processes at the same time. But in transformers, we can do that. We can run parallel processes, which means we can process all the tokens. We will talk about the tokens soon in this video. But for context, it is just words. So we are going to be processing all the words simultaneously at the same time, which removes the sequential bottleneck that was present in RNNs and LSTMs. So yeah. And then we have self-attention. It will know it will know what why every single word is used, and it will figure out what's the actual meaning of it, how this word contribute to another word, like that. And then it will perform position encoding, like which word comes up next, so that mathematically, instead of just going through sequential something logic stuffs like that. So, and then we have the scalability, which means we can train this with billions or even in the future trillions of data. I think the latest ChatGPT uses literally 1 trillion parameters, I think so, but they haven't released it publicly, but it still exists, I think so, because running a trillion model parameter model requires a lots of GPUs. So yeah. All right, so let's get into the next stuff. We have seen lots of things now. So now we are going to be getting started with tokens. So on the screen you can see we have a sentence called "I love programming," and this is how the tokenization actually happens. So it will first take this sentence and split them into words like "I love programming," and then split into subwords "I love programming." All right, so it will split every single words into subwords and then process those instructions. So then it will assign a token ID for all of them, so that you can use embeddings for weighting the parameters and then processing them in the future. So this is how tokens gets created in the first time for the first time, and then we will have embeddings. Let's get started with the embedding concept. So as we discussed, the system will split the words into subwords and assign a token ID for each of the subwords, and after that those subwords get into the embedding layer. So here we have an example token ID, and this token ID will get into the embedding layer, which will give it a vector based sequence which will cover multiple things. So for let's say the dimension one covers whether it is noun or verb, and the dimension two describes whether it is positive word or the negative word, and then the concrete word or abstract word, and other features like whether it is funny or anger, describing the emotions, everything based on a vector. And it will uses mathematics for all these calculations, so that when we need to retrieve them, we can actually know. I mean, the AI models actually doesn't understand the word. It will uses these parameters, these mathematical vectors, to decide whether this word is suitable for that particular sentence it is forming. So let me show you a visual embedding, how embedding actually works. So this all happens by a machine learning algorithm. We don't give any manual inputs about how it needs to arrange itself. So it's happen everything automatically by an algorithm. So over here you can see that we have three categories which are splitted by machine learning algorithms. So over here we have programming category, and then we have food category, and then we have animals category. These all are grouped into separate by a machine learning algorithm, so in which it uses the embedding vectors, the dimensions that we have discussed before. So the dimension we have discussed before over here, which covers the thing like the taste of the food, and the programming languages, syntax, and stuff like that. So these dimensions will actually help the machine learning algorithms to describe or group them into a particular category, like in this chart, based on the food, animals, and the programming languages. So that's it. All right. Over here we have a sentence. So the cat sat on the mat because it was tired. So over here we can have that there are lots of subject over here. Example, the cat and the mat. So now the here it uses the attention mechanism, which is used by the transformers, which is the secret source of the transformers. Here over here, this cat bird will get strong attention as it is the actual subject here, and the mat will get the weak attention, because the cat was also represented by it, was also used it to mention it. So that this is how a transform I mean, this is how it understands the context. I mean, this is how the transformers work and judge and have attention towards a particular word. So yeah, hope you can understand from this examples. All right, so lastly I am going to be covering about temperature. So I have skipped lots of things when it comes to actual AI stuff, so I'm just covering the brief and basic version of it. So over here you can see temperature. So what is the temperature in AI? So it actually defines the creativity of the model. So if the value is above 1 plus, it will be so much creative and random. So yeah, It will give you random stuff, and it may also hallucinate a lot. But when it is in approximate of 0.7, it will be balanced, it will be logical and also creative at the same time, I mean balanced way. And if it is in 0.3, it is mostly predictable, and there will be slight creative variations. But if it is 0, it will be deterministic, which means it will just go with what it is actually like. For example, in code generation, you just need to go with the syntax, you need to follow the syntax rules, or else it will just show the errors. You shouldn't show your creativity in programming on the code generation. So that's how it works. So for the focus, we have factual FNQ, like it can be creative. For example, the customer might ask a same question but in different sentence, but so that it need to get creative and still need to answer the questions in the creative way. So for balance, we have the general chat, and for creative writing, we have creativity. For we have creative writing, we can also include image generation in this list as well. So this temperature is set by two variables, which is top K sampling and top B sampling. So the top K sampling actually refers to the number of tokens that it need to consider. For example, in this, it is represented as 3, which means it will only take the first 3 of them. And the top V sampling actually represents the percentage of the confidence level of the model for that particular token. Below 85 percentage, so it will go with those tokens. So yeah, that's it. So in this video, I have covered the brief version of what AI is, and hope you guys understand. And if I made any mistakes, you can feel free to comment in the comment section. In the future, I will be also making lots of videos about AI. I am currently learning NA10, and I am also using AI tools a lot, by the way, but still I haven't used them completely yet. So I will be covering about them in the future videos. So stay tuned, and yeah, if you like, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and make sure to like this video. So yeah, see you in the next video, guys. Bye.